So if you wouldn't mind taking out your hymnals and turning it to the unity statement of being. There is one presence and one power in this church, in our lives, and in the universe. God, the good, omnipotent. And our 5 unity principles. Unity principle number 1, God is absolute good, everywhere present. Number 2, God lives in us, therefore we are inherently good. Number 3, we are co-creators with God and create our experiences through our thoughts. Number 4, prayer is creative thinking that heightens our connection with God-mind. Number 5, it is not enough to simply know these principles. We must live the truth we know. All right. So if you would mind, please standing and turning your hymnals to page number 85. Our prayer. Page number 85, our prayer. Together, move inwards into consciousness. And so today, this day, I invite you to go within and experience your oneness, your connectivity, your interrelationship with principle, with source, and with your brothers and sisters. We are all one in causality. All co-creating experiences, co-creating new understandings and insights, co-creating a raising of consciousness. I invite you to contemplate on what you are co-creating. On your contribution, both to yourself and to humanity. What legacy will you leave? What legacy would you create? I invite you to think on these things. Think on what the true meaning of life is. Think on your purpose. Think on what you would like to see in this world. Now, as you are contemplating on this vision that you would like to see in this world, I invite you to create the space for free expression for your brothers and sisters. I invite you to see as love sees. For love does not dictate. Love does not judge. Love does not condemn. Love does not force. And yet, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Without forcing, without judging, without condemning, without dictating, and reaching each one of us exactly where we are in unconditional love and acceptance. Where are you setting your standards for living and being? Are you following these principles? For you are love incarnate. Birthed by love. You are love in human form. achieving your potential for love? I invite you to think on these things. For only love can harmonize. Only love can raise up. Only love can uplift. Where are you setting your standards? I invite you to think on these things. Observe your thoughts with compassionate observation. Begin to see yourself as love sees you. Begin to reach yourself exactly where you are. Begin to expand your understanding of wholeness so that you may understand better your true nature. I invite you to think on these things. And know that all things are possible with spirits. When in doubt on your purpose, when in doubt on how you can see yourself as love sees you, I invite you to trust in spirits. And there's one with you that is you. I invite you to get to know that part of you. For through that knowing, you will find yourself free. Through that knowing, you will transcend all challenges. Through that knowing, Spirit can express totally in you, through you, and as you. You need only relinquish. There's nothing to gain or learn, or where you have to search or seek it out. It lives in you. You need only relinquish to that greater aspect that is you. And So as we are relaxing in these tranquil moments of peace, harmony, thinking on these things, I invite my brothers and sisters to join me in prayer as I ask Spirit to create a space within me for this message. To speak in me, through me, and as me. And deliver truth. I invite my brothers and sisters here to join me in gratitude for this time that we are together in fellowship. This is a beautiful day, a wonderful day. We are grateful for this day. We are grateful for this beautiful community. We are grateful for each other. And we feel this gratitude in the name and after the loving nature of our source, of principle, of spirit. And so it is. Amen. We have a selection from the choir. Would everyone please stand and turn your hymnals to page number 56. Page number 56. There's a wideness in God's mercy. There's a wideness in God's mercy. This is part 3 in a 4-part series of God as you, God as me. You know, this series was inspired by a person who's here. His name is Don. And so, one day that I just need help in understanding where I'm God. So each of the parts of these series, I want to make a connection so that you better understand that when we refer to God, God is all that there is, and that's you as well. So, this one is God as you, God as me, part 3, the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that many of us find difficult. Doesn't have to be, but we do. So we're going to explore that. And we're also going to explore some useful tools to ease the transition of processing what you're experiencing, as well as look at some of those things that we've been stuck in life. So what is God? God is wholeness. I've said that every talk. God is wholeness. God is a constant stream of experiences that we experience. It is only when we begin to judge these experiences that these experiences have different effects at that point. Experiences have different purposes. And again, as I have said, as I have stated, we have to widen this narrow perception of what is good if we are ever going to understand ourselves. You see, because we also judge ourselves by that same narrow comparison.
And so anything that doesn't fall within that narrow comparison, then at that point, we either repress it where it becomes a shadow, or we have forgiveness opportunities, where now we have to understand and sort out and process why we feel certain ways about ourselves. So again, God is wholeness. You are wholeness. You are not meant to just express in this small little range. So why do we find it so hard to forgive? Well, I found a scripture that really touches on it in the book of John, chapter 5, verses 5 through 8. It reads, there was a man who was paralyzed, who had been ill for 38 years. So Jesus, when he came, he knew that this man had been there for a long time. He asked him, do you want to be made well? The man said, sir, I have no one to put me in the pool. And when the water stirs up and I try to make my way down, someone steps in front of me. So metaphysically, the scripture talks about a number of things. Metaphysically, the man is paralyzed, as we too, when we get stuck, when we can't process our experiences, because we get those experiences that we like, and then we get those experiences that we don't like. But when we get stuck, we get paralyzed in life. So metaphysically, this is referring to that. So, why do we find it so hard to forgive when we get stuck? You see, when we get stuck, we begin to tell ourselves a story. And so that story then becomes a part of our belief system, becomes a part of our DNA. And so at that point, what inevitably happens is we find ourselves becoming shackled to that story. We find ourselves being within the bars of a prison in that story. We find ourselves looking out into a world like a caged bird or a butterfly. What was meant to fly, what was never meant to be caged, is now caged. These stories, because we are storytellers. This is why Jesus was such a hit with his parables, because he told stories. These stories, these same stories that we tell ourselves, I'm going to teach you how to reframe them. So we're going to discuss reframing the story, changing the narrative. Many of us are dealing with some things right now. And see, so what happens is when you get caught up in experiencing something, and then when you begin to berate yourself, call yourself names, or say something was stupid, can't believe that I did that, or whatever. You begin to develop something, you begin to develop shame and guilt with this story. Everybody with me? Yes. Okay. All right. Now, it's important to understand that many aspects of our story took place at an early stage of our development. And because we didn't have the wherewithal to deal with it at the time, we didn't have the understanding of life, we didn't have the understanding of processing information, things like that. Perhaps we were 2, perhaps we were 3, perhaps we were 5, something like that. We saw something, we made a determination, and that was it. But what we didn't understand at that time was that we would actually be creating an imprint. And this imprint would then be affecting us all our lives. We would forget about that original story, you see. And then we would wonder why it seemed like we continue to attract certain people into our lives, or why we continue to attract certain situations, or why is it that I always end up feeling unworthy, or why is it that I feel this, or why is it that I feel that? And there was something from an early point where you didn't have the mental wherewithal to deal with it. It created an imprint. This imprint then became a lifelong curriculum. So I'm just telling you all that's involved. We have to kind of pull the veil back, take a look at it, so that we can see the inner workings, so that way we can figure out what's going on, so we can fix it, so we can heal it. But if we're not looking at it, if we're always running from it just because of this charge that we get, and every time we see it, we know it's around the corner, we just want to run the other way and stuff like that, we're not facing it. So how do we forgive? I'm going to get right into that. How do we forgive? We have all of this. We have all these different situations and circumstances, and I've said in many talks, this is the reason why we experience the suffering is because we're not seeing the situation correctly. We're seeing it from that same narrow lens, that same narrow standpoint of how things are supposed to be. Well, guess what? Those things that you think are supposed to be are not contributing to your growth. And we must grow. We must grow. And it is only a person who is so traumatized and wounded that doesn't want any growth factors in their life. But let's just speak the truth. Let's just speak the truth. This is not for anyone to feel bad about themselves. This is to understand what's going on. So let's get right back to the $1 million question. How do we, when we get stuck in life, let's just call it for what it is, like the man, the paralyzed man, when we get paralyzed in life, how do we pick up our mat and walk, which is what Jesus did? How do we heal ourselves and move forward? It's just through reframing. So, I'm going to teach you how to reframe. But the first thing that comes with reframing is you have to establish a mindset. Before you even think about reframing anything, you have to establish a mindset. You have to be willing to, first in this mindset, you have to be willing to explore what happened. Be willing to explore it in your mind. And you got to be willing to be open-minded about it. You see? Now, when I drive around in New Orleans, there's a lot of, forgiveness opportunities. I'll see cars, what I've noticed here is people run the red light. And I'm just like, whoa! The first time I saw that, oh my God! This person running the red lights. I didn't see that in Houston very often. People run red lights here. So you have to constantly be vigilant. And the first time, now I'm kind of used to it now. So it's like, now it's like when I see a car, I'm just waiting for them to just dart out there. But sometimes not, sometimes it's a bicycle. It's right in front of you. So there's a lot of forgiveness opportunities in this city. A lot of forgiveness opportunities. So, when I'm like on a freeway and things like that, and somebody cuts in front of me and I get all upset at first, because that's my knee-jerk reaction, What I mean when I say you have to be open-minded, is you have to understand, that there's a bigger thing involved here. For example, there's other aspects of this story. It's not just your story. So when I say other aspects of this story, okay, so after the knee-jerk reaction is over, okay, and my blood pressure is going down, okay, so then I'm just like, well, Stephen, how many times have you done this? And did you really do it on purpose? Did you really do it? I know I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. Guess what? This person probably didn't do it on purpose either. Okay? So, that applies to some situations. Okay? But you have to be open-minded, in other words, because there's a lot of situations that when you're closed-minded, when you're only sitting in your story, you're only sitting in this narrow, this is my story, because remember, it's not what happened, it's what you think happened. It's not what this person said, it's what you think this person said. You see, that we get caught up in that story, in that closed loop. So the only way to free ourselves from that closed loop is begin to ask ourselves investigative questions about what happened and take a look at it. Take a look at it. Because if it's keeping you stuck, you take a look at it. And you have to be open-minded about it. And then it is important to look at it with the eyes that you have today. You see, we go through many experiences that help us grow. So we learn how to process things a whole lot better than we did in our earlier years. You see? So there's a lot more that's at our disposal now that will assist us in making a more informed decision than just to sit there stuck in our story. Now that's just the mindset. I'm just telling you all the reasons, all the aspects of why this mindset is important. Okay? This creates a curious mindset, an open-minded mindset, because see, when you're closed-minded, you're not going to get any other information when you're closed-minded. A mind that thinks it already knows will not learn. It is only when we open our mind to new ideas that we will begin to, guess what? Learn new things. Learn new things about that story. So the first thing you should do when you're really trying to forgive something, you're really trying to get past it, because see, if you just want to be stuck in your rightness and things like that, just forget anything I'm about to say. You just want to be stuck in your story and you're the victim, because this person did this and you were just innocently walking along the street and next thing you know, just pow, out the blue. If you just want to sit in that story, okay, then fine. But you're not going to be happy. So, you want to write your story down. That's the first thing you want to do. Completely write your story. I mean, write everything. Write all the violins and everything, all of the things that you felt, every single thing. Write it down. Write it down so you can take a look at it. So you can take a good, hard look at it. Write it down. Now, this is very important. Number one, the reason why you experience when you have an imprint, a dent, an imprint from earlier or something like that, and so you get these other experiences. The reason why we get these experiences is because we are not looking within. So we get these external experiences so that there's another way to forgive. You can forgive the external. The external is just an outpicturing of the internal consciousness, but for those of us who are not willing to go within, then you will have more than enough opportunities to forgive without. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So you don't have to go within. It's a more direct way to go within and begin to look within. But some of us don't do that. I've already established some of us don't meditate. Even though I did a talk about the power of meditation and prayer, some of us still don't meditate. So we wonder why we attract all these different situations and circumstances. Well, now I'm teaching you how to forgive the external situations and circumstances. So now that you have written this whole story down, now the story is out. It's out there, so you can take a look at it. See, when you have these situations that are attracted into your life, they try to draw the poison out so you can take a look at it. Okay? But now you've written the whole story down. You can take a look at it now. Take a look at it. And begin to ask yourself questions about this story. Now, if your forgiveness opportunity is abuse related, because there's a couple of shortcuts I'm going to give you. Okay? If it's abuse related, like somebody abused you, or you abuse somebody else, it's important to understand that about 95 to 98% of people who abuse were abused. That's just how it is. They were abused. So maybe you're not taking that into the equation. This is not giving anybody an excuse to abuse you, you see. But this is basically letting you know, hey, there's other aspects of the story that maybe you're not considering. So if that is part of your story, you were abused when you were younger or something like that, the person, your abuser, was abused themselves. And chances are their abuser was abused. And so hopefully it ends with you. Because this is a cycle. So do you really look at that abuser? But what about when they were a child and they were abused? Do you look at that abuser? What about when they were a child and they were abused? You see? So where do you park your vengeance? You see? No, this is a wave. You know? That's what this is. It's a wave. We're all doing our part to raise up the energy, to remove the abuse from our consciousness, to remove it from our consciousness, and we all have to do our part. And we're not going to do our part by wanting to park our vengeance somewhere. No, we got to do our own part. So if that happened to you, I apologize. But at the same time, if you want to move on, it's good to have a more expanded understanding of how things took place. And understand that this is something that's been going, what happened with this trail that led to you being abused started off maybe about a couple of 100,000 years ago. Okay. If this forgiveness opportunity is a mistake, if it's a mistake, I'm going to give you a shortcut for some of these things. Okay? How else are you going to learn? How else are you going to learn? Our primary learning tool is trial and error, people. Trial and error. How else are you going to learn? That's how we learn. You're going to learn from reading out of books. That's secondary learning. Primary learning is trial and error. You do something, oops, made a mistake. That's how all these things got invented. Making mistakes. So if your forgiveness opportunity happened to be a mistake, well, you're in luck. You can let yourself off the hook right now. Get that out of here. It's time for you to fly. Everybody with me? Yeah. Okay. If your forgiveness opportunity is addiction related, I've talked about this. People who, and we're not just talking about substance, because whatever the addiction, doesn't matter. Okay? People who I was sharing this yesterday. We started the prayer chapel program and had a great group of people. But people who suffer through addictions, they really make powerful spiritual leaders. You see, Brother Fillmore even believed that. Brother Fillmore even said, and it's even in the Bible, those who are addicted are thirsting after righteousness. They just don't know how to fill that empty void that is within them. They don't know how. So they fill it with substances. They fill it with pornography. They fill it with whatever. But they try to fill it. And guess what? It never gets filled. it never gets filled. But when they do find their true calling, and and 9 times out of 10 it is spiritual related, oh my God, they become trailblazers. Trailblazers. Do not look on any of our brothers and sisters who may be suffering with an addiction in any way like they are less than. Oh, no. No. So if it's one of those things, I'm giving you some of those things right there. But if it's not one of those things, continue to ask yourself questions. But see, now you are able to look at this story. See, you're able to look at it now. See, it's all written down now. You're not just saying it to yourself and in this prison, where everything you can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch is this story. Okay? Now you can actually write it. You can look at it more objectively. And you can look at it with your eyes of today. Because you see, the things that didn't feel good in your life actually gave you objective ways to look at things. Understand that. All of those things that you didn't like how they felt, when you went through them, they gave you a new way to look at things. That's what they did. They came bearing gifts, even though you probably didn't even know. They came bearing gifts. But when we're busy judging, thinking that this is bad or whatever, we miss it. There are blessings that live in each and every moment. I invite you to look for them. And the last thing I'll say is to ask Spirit. Spirit won't let you down. Ask Spirit. Before you ask anybody, ask Spirit. Spirit will answer. It will answer, and it will come. So what we are talking about is a reframing process. This is a process to reframe what was once imprisoning us into some wings where we can fly and soar high in the heavens where we're supposed to be. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I got to ask that from time to time because, sometimes it's like, I'm like, are they good at this? Are they good at what I'm saying? I just want to know. Okay. All right. So with that, I have an affirmation. Well, actually, this is five statements. I have 5 statements that I want everybody to repeat after me. Everybody ready? Yes. I am who I am because of my journey, my triumphs, and my mistakes. That's right. That's number 1. Number 2, I relinquish the idea that the difficulties I experience are hard or are bad. I relinquish the idea that the difficulties I experience are bad. For it is the difficult experiences I have to thank for all my growth. Number 3, I release all judgment, guilt, and shame. Number 4, I am open and responsive to divine guidance. Number 5, last one, I commit to living my life in a manner that reflects my wholeness. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. You can reframe anything. Set yourself free. Set yourself free. Do not hold these heavy bags. Do not allow them to burden you. You are meant to fly. That is who you are. You are unlimited. Be unlimited. Now go and be that light that your Father and Mother God intended for you to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is our time where we can show our love and appreciation for
this ministry and all that it does with our tithes and our offerings. Everybody, divine love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, it is so now. Couple of announcements. Number one, there's electronic giving in the lobby. Just go see Winky, and you can, there's a little QR code, you can scan it, and you can give electronically. We are going to have a survey. I tried to get it together today, but I kind of got pushed back with prayer chaplain training. So I'm going to make sure that it is printed up by next Sunday. We're going to have a survey where we just basically want your input, just to get your feedback on some of the classes that we offer. This was put together by two of our members, and so, you know, I like to gauge the pulse of the community. So, but with this survey, I would like you to, even though it's not on there, even I may get it put on there, to fill it out completely, put your name on there, put on there whether you are a member or not a member. Also, put your contact information on there, because we are also building an electronic database right now. And so we'll be able to contact you when the classes that you would like become available. And there's other opportunities as well. But we're building an electronic database for the church. So, and there are invite cards. Invite cards, I don't have any up here right now, but you can see Sonia, or a member of the welcome team, for an invite card, and basically the card just invites people to share our Sunday service. And this is a great ministry, a great service that we have every Sunday. And you know, I mean, I know you're here, so you're enjoying it. So you know, guess what? Somebody else might like it too. So ask or see Sonia. She has some invite cards, and you just write your name on there. It just basically says you're invited for some refreshments and a 1-hour service. So with that, let us say our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. The Lord watches between me and thee while we are absent, one from the other. Helps us to know with all spirit, Lord Jesus Christ. I'm almost there. All right. Let's all join hands and sing our peace song.